July 29th, 2026, and Barcelona currently contemplating an offer for Javi Guerra. I'm going to tell you all about that. Also, Barcelona delaying the expiration date for their offer for Julian Alvarez. And finally, Tottenham Hotspur preparing an offer for Jules Kounde. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. This is the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. Now, for those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news, even though I advise against it because, of course, for me at least, the chat section is usually the best part of this podcast. But anyways, if you want to skip it, you can. But start filling out the chat section with your comments, your questions, and anything you have to add. Now, by the way, I know I'm starting the podcast an hour late today. I do apologize, but I had an incredibly long day at work. I had to work today very, very late, so I just finished working. This is why we're starting the podcast late. But nonetheless, I still have plenty of news to share with you. Now, before we do an announcement, let me just finish my intro. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise or jerseys from any other football teams around the world, you can head to Kitbag. If you're looking to play City Sports Bet, you can head to Bet Us. If you're looking for gear for any others from any other sports, you can head to Fanatics. All links in the description and click on them. You get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. And now we can move on to the announcement. And of course, I'll make a chapter for this because on Monday, I asked you guys, hey, would you like me to raffle the home kit or the away kit? I placed a poll on the channel for you to vote. And now it's time to announce the results of that vote. I'm gonna share here the channel page. Let's zoom in. All right, here we go. We're at Barca News. We're in the posts section, and here is the poll. And well, the results have it overwhelming for the away kit. The poll received 599 votes, with 34% of the votes going for the home kit, 56% going for the away kit, and then 10% of the votes for Ferran Torres is better than Lionel Messi. Ferran, the GOAT. Sharquillo. Anyways, so we have our answer. I will be raffling an FC Barcelona away kit. I'm going to make the post today on Instagram. So make sure you are following the Instagram page because tonight I will make a post on the Instagram page on how to enter the raffle for the away kit. And I will be announcing the winner of the away kit next Wednesday. Next Wednesday's podcast, I will be announcing the winner. Tonight, the post will go live on the Instagram page with the instructions on how to join the raffle. And next Wednesday, so you have a whole week to follow those instructions. And next Wednesday, we will announce the winner of the Barcelona away kit. And by the way, I got this question before. Someone asked me, Mo, do you ship to any parts of the world? Yes. So it doesn't matter where you are. Africa, North America, South America, Asia, Australia, Europe. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can participate in the raffle. And yes, if you are a winner, I will make sure that kit makes it to your home, regardless of where you live in the world. So tonight, check out the Instagram page because the post will officially go live as soon as this podcast is over. And with that announcement out of the way, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is comprised of multiple bits of news combined together for the sake of brevity. Started with the news that guess who joined the preseason training today in England? It was no other than Raphinha, one of Barcelona's captains. Of course, the team is currently in England. They flew to England on Monday, where they're currently training at St. George's Park, which is where the English national team currently they train. The team has been training there since Monday, and today Raphinha's vacation was officially over. It's 3 weeks. Players get 3-week vacation in the summer. And well, I guess it's been 3 weeks since Brazil got eliminated. So Raphinha's vacation is officially over. And today he flew to England where he joined the rest of the team. There's a picture of him with Karim Adeyemi with Barcelona's latest signing. Raphinha, of course, giving Adeyemi advice, telling him, hey, if you want advice on how to fly halfway around the world in order to play a friendly match and get injured during the most critical part of the season, I got you. I could give you plenty of advice in that department. Now, of course, Anthony Gordon, who's the other signing for Barcelona, will not join the team until, if I'm not mistaken, August 9th or August 10th. I know August 10th is for players who played the final. We have 8 players who played for Spain. They made it all the way to the final. So 3 weeks from the final is August 10th. But Anthony Gordon did play the third place match, which was a day before. So I'm not 100% sure if it's August 9th or still August 10th. Anthony Gordon will join later. But anyways, Raphinha is now back with the first team. He, of course, is still recovering from that injury that he suffered during the group stages of the World Cup. And so he's not expected to play in the 2 preseason friendlies that Barcelona have planned in England. As you know, Barcelona already played their first friendly against CE Europa. They won 4-1. It was behind closed doors, so it wasn't televised. Now in England, they have 2 scheduled preseason matches. July 31st, this weekend, they're going to be playing against Birmingham City at St. Andrews. That should be televised. And then there's going to be a second friendly match on August 3rd against Preston North. Preston North, is that what it's called? I always forget their name. I don't know. But anyways. And it's not expected that Raphinha will participate in any of those 2 friendly matches because he is still recovering from that injury. Now on to that next bit of news, because today the Barcelona board met. They met for several reasons. But one of the things they voted on, one of the agenda items that they voted on, was to integrate Barca Atletic to the first team structure. Now, what does that mean? Let me explain to you. So far, Deco and his team were in charge of making signings for the first team, right? However, the rest of the teams that comprise the Barcelona football world is, like Barca Atletic, Juvenil A, Juvenil B, Cadete A, Cadete B, and the rest. The person in charge for signing for those teams was this guy, which I'm going to share the screen with you, is, of course, Alexanco. Well, full name is Jose Roman Alexanco, former player. He actually played for Barcelona for some time. But Jose Ramon Alexanco, he's been the person in charge of making all the signings for Barca Atletic, Juvenil A, Juvenil B, etc., for all the teams in La Masia. So far, I think all the years that he's been at the club, he has done a phenomenal job. He has signed incredibly promising players. But now, under this new structure that the board just voted on, Barca Atletic will be under the same structure as the first team. In other words, it's going to be Deco and his team making signings not just for the first team, but also for Barca Atletic. In other words, Alexanco is only going to be making signings for the Juvenil A and the teams below him. So this has been approved. So Deco will be in charge of both Barca Atletic and first team signings. And of course, there's 2 sides to this coin. On one hand, it makes sense on paper because, of course, Barca Atletic is the reserve team for the first team. In other words, it's a team where it's a feeder team for the first team, right? It's a team where you can have players who can be getting prepared to make the jump to the first team. Otherwise, they're sold or they're kept at that level. But it's a feeder team. So since it's a feeder team on paper, it makes sense to have them both combine and have the same sporting director. making signings for both. On the other hand, how do I put this nicely? Deco fucking sucks. And I do not trust him making signings for Barca Atletic. Right? Now, don't get me wrong, things have improved since he's hired Joao Amaral. We've seen Barcelona make, really good signings. But so far, Alex Sanko has made incredible signings over the many, many years he's been at the club for not just Barca Atletic, but for all the teams. So if it ain't broke, why fix it? If Alex Sanko was already doing a phenomenal job, why give that job to that idiot named Deco, right? So on that part, on the other hand, it doesn't make too much sense to me. Also, Alex Sanko is someone who specializes in emerging talent, right? It's someone who signs players with lots of potential, or that he believes they have a lot of potential that can one day be, really good players. For example, he's the one who helped us the signing of Pedri, right? Where Deco usually is more of someone who signs players who are already made. And do we need to be signing players for Barca Athletic who are already made? No, we want to sign players who are promising for Barca Athletic so then they can one day make it to the first team. So on one hand, I get it. On paper, it makes total sense. On the other hand, I don't know. I'm not sold on this move, but I guess time will tell. So let me know what you guys think about this move of integrating Barca Athletic to the first team and having Deco being in charge of both. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you not care? Let me know down below in the comment section or in the chat section if you're currently watching this live. And then the last bit of news for this first segment is in regards to Eli Junior Kroupi, one of the most promising strikers currently in the Premier League. Of course, we've talked about Kroupi a lot because he was number one on the list if Julian Alvarez signing did not happen. However, Barcelona ruled out this signing because Bournemouth decided to put their foot down and saying that Kroupi is not for sale, even though initially they had to put a €100 million price tag on him. Then they increased it to 130, and eventually they said, no, he's not for sale at all. So Barcelona ruled out the signing of Kroupi last week. I told you about that. But of course, reports continue to swirl that Barcelona are making contact with the player, that Barcelona are making contact with Bournemouth, blah, 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 blah. Yesterday, I made another video telling you none of those reports are true. And, well, if you had any doubts about Barcelona, whether they're going to sign Kroupi or not, well, you can definitely lay those doubts to rest because Kroupi got injured during the preseason with Bournemouth. He just underwent surgery today, and he's going to be out for the next 4 to 5 months. So big blow for Kroupi. But, of course, this definitely closes the door forever. Well, not forever. Definitely for this summer for Barcelona because, we're not going to go sign a center forward who's not going to play for the first 4 to 5 months of the season. So I wish Kroupi a speedy and healthy recovery. May he come back better and stronger, unless, of course, they have to play against Barca. May he suck that game. But overall, may he recover fully and may he come back better and stronger. But this definitely closes the door on any possibility of Barcelona signing Kroupi during this summer transfer market. All right, let's begin with the comment section. And then we'll do the next bit of news. But let's see. We do have someone with an incredible inferiority complex right now in the chat section saying a la Madrid. So let's all point at her and laugh at her because, you have to have a really serious complex issue to go to a Barca channel and comment on a Barca video saying a la Madrid when your team hasn't won a single thing in the last 2 seasons. So everybody, join me in pointing our fingers at this person with an inferiority complex, and let's laugh at her. You suck. Anyways, with that out the way, let's do some comments, some serious comment, not some comment from someone who obviously has problems. Hello, Mo. I just wanted to say this. If we have to cover Ter Stegen 90% salary and the tax difference, I'd rather we keep him as our backup to Juan Garcia. That's actually pretty interesting because if I had to choose between Ter Stegen and what's his face, Szczesny, I would obviously pick Ter Stegen, right? Ter Stegen is a much better goalkeeper than Szczesny. He's younger. So, I mean, That makes sense. That makes sense. But the point of loaning Ter Stegen is so he can be a starter somewhere else, right? Because if he stays, obviously he's gonna be a sub for Juan Garcia, which means he's gonna get very limited minutes. Somewhere else, he could be the starter and get plenty of minutes to get back into competitive rhythm and to show his level, which, for the longest time, he was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Yes, I said that. For people who try to undermine Ter Stegen, get your head out of your ass, right? I see this all the time. I understand that people are upset at Ter Stegen. I am too. I told him, the other day, I said, fuck you, Ter Stegen. You don't deserve to be a captain for what he's doing. And we can criticize Ter Stegen for what he's doing and be mad at him for what he's doing. But to all of a sudden pretend that he's a shitty goalkeeper, again, get your head out of your ass, right? You could do both. You could criticize Ter Stegen while at the same time recognizing what an amazing goalkeeper he was and recognizing everything he did for Barcelona as a player and how he helped Barcelona win so many trophies, including the Champions League, without having to all of a sudden pretend like he sucks just because you dislike him. Like, you can still be honest with yourself and dislike him now and criticize him now without all of a sudden pretending like Ter Stegen is some bum, right? So, would I prefer Ter Stegen over Szczesny? 100%. But overall, in the long-term thinking, it makes more sense to loan him so he can, again, regain competitive rhythm. He hasn't played in 2 seasons. He can show us, well, not us, show other clubs what he's made of. Again, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And that way, someone can come and be like, all right, I want this guy, and they can sign him on a permanent transfer. Versus if he stays Barcelona as a substitute and gets 5 minutes the whole season, it's a lot less likely that another team is going to see him and sign him. And again, if you think Ter Stegen is a bad goalkeeper just because you dislike him lately, get your head out of your ass. Would you rather smell the beautiful air and see the sun and the sky rather than have your head stuck up your ass and, smell your own shit? Come on, people. Anyways, Arnold says, hi, Mo. It's been a while since last time I catch your podcast live. I had an incredible work schedule that was preventing me to be here in live, but was watching all them once at home. Well, thank you. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your comment. I hope work is better now where you're not too busy. Obviously it's always good to have work and be making money and paying bills and putting food on the table. But, I hope that it's not as busy in that way. You can enjoy yourself as well, because ladies and gentlemen, you always got to remember that at the end of the day, life is short. We only have one life. And we didn't come to this world just to work and then die, right? So I hope work is better for you, my friend. But I appreciate you supporting the channel and watching. And my man Cornell says, Mo, what's good, bruv? Do you plan on watching the preseason match on Friday? If so, where? I'll be watching it here at home because, of course, Friday I do work. So I'm not going anywhere special. But I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited because, as always, preseason matches means, that we're going to start with one lineup, and then second half, we're going to get another lineup, and we're going to end up seeing 25, 26 players get minutes, most of them being youngsters because, of course, most of the first team is not even back from vacation. And that, to me, is incredibly exciting. I want to, because, of course, the first friendly match against CE Europa, it wasn't televised, so we got to miss it. So I'm very, very looking forward to this match. I want to see Ebri Matunkara. I want to see Brahim Diarra. I want to see Shane Kluivert. I want to see Alvaro Cortés. I want to see Tommy Marquez. I want to see Alex Rodriguez. I want to see the Fernandez cousins. I want to see all these guys in action, and I'm very, very looking forward to this match. And I'm glad that it's not behind closed doors like the first friendly match, which, of course, we all had to miss because it was behind closed doors. All right, let's see. What else? Pave says we should just buy Fisnik Aslani. Striker market is bad. Atletic, Chelsea, and Bournemouth refuse to sell. So here's the thing. With Fisnik. I like him. I think he's a very promising center forward. I think he would be a great backup, right? Now, with a great backup, as a great backup, my concern would be is that he would curtail the minutes and therefore curtail the growth of Hamza Abdelkarim, right? Because right now I think we need to focus on bringing a starting center forward and then have someone like Hamza as a backup in the background, growing, developing, brewing, right? Because Hamza looks incredibly promising. If you bring Aslani, who's the same age, I think he might be a year older than Hamza, but let's say same age for the sake of argument, that means that there's no space for Hamza and that he's going to eventually leave. So would I like the signing of Aslani? Of course. Very promising player. Would I do it? No. No. Because A, he's not ready to be a starter. So that means if we sign him, he would be a backup. And as a backup, I believe that he would undermine the growth and development of Hamza Abdel Karim. It's kind of why I wouldn't sign Rodri, right? I've talked about this in the channel. Do I have anything against Rodri? Of course not. I would be absolutely nuts to have something against Rodri. He's the best 5 in the world right now. Best defensive midfielder in the world. He would make Barcelona so much better by joining. But would I sign him? No. Why? Because that would mean sacrificing the future of Bernal. And between having an incredible midfielder like Rodri for 3-4 seasons versus having an incredible midfielder like Bernal for the next 10 to 15 seasons, I'd rather 10 to 15 over just 3 to 4. So it's kind of like that for Aslani. You know, I wouldn't sign him because same age as Hamza, and signing him would mean that Hamza would have to go. So I wouldn't. Now, if Barcelona end up signing him, obviously I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be outside Barcelona offices with a freaking pitchfork protesting. I'll be like, yeah, cool. But I personally would not. But anyways, let's do one more comment and then we'll go to the next bit of news, which is pretty interesting news in regards to Javi Guerra, my cousin. I say my cousin because my mom's last name is Guerra, but he's not my cousin. The Rebel Pilot says, at this point, I'd rather take a gamble and sign Carlos Espi/Fiston Caslani and end up winning nothing than not sign a striker and end up winning nothing regardless. Well, hold on. Let's calm down. Let's not all of a sudden pretend like we're not going to win anything just because we're not going to sign anyone. Like, that's a little bit melodramatic. All right, let's not be drama queens. I know we all want to sign a striker, including me. But there's no reason to all of a sudden be like, the whole thing is over. We're not going to win anything for the next decade. And the club's going to go bankrupt. And we're going to have to sell the Spotify Camp Nou. And Barcelona's going to close its doors. And it's all going to all cease to exist. I know we live in a world of social media where everything's dramatized and everything is hyperbole. And everybody wants to, overreact to every little thing. But come on. Let's take it down a notch, okay? Let's take it down. Do I want to sign a striker? Of course. Do I prefer we sign a striker? Of course. Is it going to be the end of the world that if we don't? No. Okay? Let's chill. Let's chill. Like Billy Mack said, chill. LOL. Of course, Billy Mack is talking probably about Raphinha giving advice to Adeyemi how to get injured during the most important part of the season. But anyways, all right, let's get back to the news. Because we do have to talk about a surprise news. At least it was a surprise for me. I don't know about you. Well, I guess you cannot tell me if it's a surprise or not because you don't know what it is. But let's talk about, drumroll, Javi Guerra, because Barcelona are contemplating making an offer for the Valencia midfielder. If you don't know who Javi Guerra is, we've talked about him before. He's a 23-year-old center midfielder who currently plays for Valencia. He has a contract with Valencia until 2029. He's actually came up through the Valencia Academy. I think he started at Villarreal's youth academy and then moved to Valencia, came up through the ranks, and now plays for Valencia's first team. But if I were to describe him, he's kind of like that box-to-box midfielder, right? Tall, physical, fast, really good with the ball at his feet, very good defensively as well, very good with that last pass, can make good runs to the box. That's kind of how you would describe Javi Guerra. Someone that Deco really likes a lot, right? In fact, Deco met with Javi Guerra and his agent last month in June. But that meeting wasn't for an immediate signing this summer. It was more like down the road signing. It's kind of like, hey, man, we like you. We think you have incredible potential. We want to sign you, not this summer because we're not looking for midfielders, but down the road. Stay at Valencia, keep growing, keep developing, and maybe next summer, maybe the one after, when it's time for you to leave Valencia, we would like you to come to Barcelona. And in fact, we're willing to offer you a 6-season contract, right? So this is kind of like planning for the future, not like, hey, I want you to come right now. Now, things have changed. What has changed? Frankie de Jong has injured his knee. He's out for 5 months. So now, Barcelona not really contemplating making a signing for the midfield, but all of a sudden, this itch has hit Deco with like, maybe we should make it off because we need someone, or we could have someone, or we might benefit from someone replacing Frankie while Frankie recovers. And since Deco's a huge fan of Javi Guerra, he's now contemplating making an offer for him. But, and there's a big but, because I like big buts and I cannot lie. Now another brother can't deny. The big but is that right now Javi Guerra has a release clause that's worth 40 million euro. However, that release clause will go up to 60 million euros starting August 1st. When is August 1st? This weekend. So Barcelona contemplating making an offer for Javi, but if they do, it's going to have to be before this weekend when his release clause goes up to 60 million euros. Now, Deco is set to fly to England either tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday. And guess who's also doing the preseason in England? Valencia. So, the decision is not final yet. Barcelona have not made a decision yet on whether to make an offer to Javi or not. Because again, there's no rush to sign a midfielder. We have plenty of midfielders. But if they do, it would be before this weekend when his release clause goes from 40 to 60 million euros. So, my question for you is, drum roll, would you prefer that we sell Casado, which, as I told you in yesterday's video, Barcelona have put a price tag of 40 mil on him, and then use that money to sign Javi Guerra? Or would you prefer we keep Casado and not make a signing for Javi Guerra? Or would you prefer we sell Casado and we don't sign anyone? Let me know. I'm very curious to hear you guys' thoughts in the chat section. I won't tell you what my thought is because I haven't made up my mind yet. But I am curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Because unlike some of the idiots that commented, no, just give us the news. We didn't want to hear your opinion. And it's like, I don't think you understand how YouTube works. But unlike those mouth breathers, I am curious to hear you guys' opinion. So let me know in the comment section or in the chat section if you're watching this live. Now, speaking of midfielders, we do have to talk about a different midfielder because Goretzka has offered himself to Barcelona. Now, if you don't know who Leon Goretzka is, I'm sure you do, but in case you've been living under a rock, 31 years old, center midfielder. His contract just expired with Bayern Munich. Very, very familiar with Hansi Flick, and Hansi Flick is very familiar with him. And in fact, the two of them won the sextuple together. Goretzka was key in Flick and Bayern winning the sextuple that season. Has now offered himself to Barcelona. Not the first time he's offered himself to Barcelona. He's offered himself to Barcelona several times. In fact, Hansi Flick even considered signing him previously, and he has offered himself to Barcelona. Again, I want to clarify this part. It's Goretzka who's offered himself to Barcelona. This doesn't mean that Barcelona want to sign him or are going to sign him or are thinking about signing him. This is Goretzka offering himself to Barca, right? Very, very important. This could, this doesn't mean anything as far as Barcelona's interest, right? Anybody could offer themselves to Barcelona. I could offer myself to Barcelona. It doesn't mean that Barcelona is going to sign me. I hope not, because I fucking suck. But it's Goretzka's offered himself to Barcelona, which now adds a fourth option that I want you guys to tell me what your thoughts are. Again, number one was, would you sell Casado and sign Javi Guerra? Would you keep Casado instead of Javi Guerra? Would you sell Casado and not sign anyone? Or number 4, would you sign Goretzka on free? Let me know in the comment section or in the chat section if you're watching this live. And with that, let's get back to the comment section. All right, let's see. Where did I leave? Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. 1985, Nazrul says, Mo, you are biased. I don't know how many times. Of course I'm biased. Stop making dumbass comments in the comment section. Yes, I'm biased. We all are. Fuck. Anyways, let's continue. Let's ignore that part. You complain about the signing of Cancelo in January, and now you are singing of his importance to the Barca cause. Deco was the one who strongly recommended this signing to Flick. Okay. And what's your point exactly? I mean, are you saying that because I'm criticizing Deco that I'm biased because he made a good signing in Cancelo? Because I have given praise to Deco for signing Cancelo, not that it has worked. But that doesn't mean we cannot criticize Deco for bad decisions that he makes just because he made one good decision. The fact that I have to explain this, Jesus Christ. Sorry, my patience is running very short today because, I had a very long day at work. And, reading dumbass comments like this, it makes it go even shorter. Anyways, all right, let's see. Paulie says, hey, Mo, apparently Messi skipped his vacation and came to training today in Miami. Do you think he will run it back for another World Cup? That's going to be really tough, man. He's 39 years old. Next World Cup, he's going to be 43. Obviously, I cannot say for sure because I'm not Messi, nor do I know what Messi's thinking. But to me, it seems very, very unlikely. I don't want to say impossible because nothing is impossible in football, but highly, highly unlikely. Because, 43 years old, man, as great as Messi is, the greatest ever, no question mark, no debate. Age is still age, right? I remember one time I was reading the comments on a football post and some dumbass had posted, age is just a number. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Are your parents first cousins? Like, are you this stupid to think that age is not just a number, okay? Age is not just a number. The body ages. It gets slower. Your recovery gets longer. You are sore for a lot more days. Your reaction time slows down. You become a lot more injury prone. Age is not just a number, okay? If age was a number, we would have football players who are 70 years old, and we don't. Why? Because age is not just a number, okay? Age is real. Your body ages. Anyways, I'm not saying, not yelling at you, Paulie. I just remember that a comment, and I was like, oh my God, social media there should be an IQ test for social media, and if you're like score below a certain level, you should not be allowed to comment on anything because there's so many idiots out there giving their opinions. And I'm sorry, but not all opinions are equal. I know we've gotten used to this whole, hey, it's opinion, no opinions are valid. It's not, okay? Not all opinions. You're entitled to your opinion. That's one thing. But not all opinions are valid, okay? Saying age is just a number, especially in sports, that's not the same as someone saying no because, well, your opinion is stupid. But anyways, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. But like I said, nothing is impossible in football, so who knows? But it's highly, highly unlikely. It's highly, highly unlikely. Let's put it that way. Let's see. What else? Wait, there's a lot of comments. I love it. There we go. I think Francis says, yo, Mo, I need a lawyer. Daredevil level. Damn, bro. I hope everything's okay. Why do you need a lawyer? I even though I am a lawyer, obviously, and I do benefit from people needing a lawyer, I never want people to need a lawyer because if you need a lawyer, most likely something has gone wrong. And, I don't wish that on anybody, but I hope everything's okay. I hope you need a lawyer because something positive, like, I don't know, you need to close a multi-million-dollar deal and you need a lawyer to help you with that, or you need to buy a house. That's another scenario where having a lawyer is a good thing. But I wish you luck, my friend. I wish you luck. I hope everything gets resolved, whatever you're going through. And if it's a positive thing, then let that positive thing multiply by 1 million. If you're closing a $1 million deal, let it be 100 millions in the next few years. Let's see. Salvador says, what's up, Mo? What if we don't have Instagram? Ooh, that's going to be a problem because I'm going to be posting it on there. Do you have Twitter? Because I'll be posting it on Twitter as well. Let's see. What else? Arnold says what Álvarez gives in attack, Osimhen can give that too. So why not go? I disagree with that assessment. Osimhen can give you a lot of goals. Yes. No doubt. His numbers speak for themselves. I don't think I've discovered fire by telling you that, right? But Álvarez is a lot more complete. Maybe not complete is the word because it makes Osimhen sound like he's incomplete, and he's not. He's an incredible striker. But he has more tools in the box. Let's put it that way, right? Julian, like Osimhen is more of a striker, center forward, right? Julian is more of someone who can play as a striker, plays as a second striker, play on the right wing, play on the left wing, play as a 10. He can float around different positions, combine with teammates, distribute the ball, organize the attack, right? So he offers you more tools than Osimhen does, right? It's kind of like Messi and Penaldo, right? The two of them very great players, but Messi gives you more options. Same thing with Osimhen and Julian. And again, this is not a diss at Osimhen. He's an incredible striker. But Julian gives you more options. So yeah. Let's see. What else? Gold Siege says, hey Mo, glad I could make. Would really trust Gordon and Karim to rotate all the way around and mainly be acting number 9. I mean, that's the beauty about these two players, right? Is that they all can play as right wingers, left wingers, center forward. So expect a lot of movement up front, a lot of rotations with Lamine, with Raphinha, with Ferran if he ends up staying. So yeah, and I think that's why Hansi Flick requested the signing of those two, because now that gives them a lot more options in organizing the attack, right? And having more different variants for his attack. Let's see. Professional Wolf says it's pretty rainy here in Boston. How's weather in New York? It was incredibly rainy yesterday. It rained all day. At night, it was just like straight up pouring, man. Like pouring, like Amazon forest pouring. I had to walk my dog, and we both got soaked. But that's okay. My dog loves playing in the rain, so I had fun watching him have fun. But today was fine. Today actually was beautiful. It was, kind of like, it was cool. It wasn't hot. It was a cool day, and I enjoyed it. But hopefully the rain passes, my friend. And Cornell, my man Cornell, says Hamza might surprise us all and have a breakout season if we end up not signing a main 9. I don't know, man. I feel like it's too soon. Because, let's see. Hamza is only 18 years old. He has never played in first division. Well, I guess he played a few games with Al Ahly, but I mean, we're talking about first division, Egypt versus first division in Spain, right? Huge difference. So, and last season, he mostly played with the Juvenil. So, I feel like it's too early. Do I trust that Hamza can surprise us all? 100%. But I don't know about this season. If I have to bet, it would probably be more of next season. But who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe he's the next Lamine Yamal, right? Lamine Yamal surprises all at 15. But I feel like more next season than this one, because he's still adapting, right? We gotta forget that we can't forget that he was only a Juvenil for half a season, so he's not even done with his full adaptation, right? So, but we'll see. I mean, if he does end up surprising us this season, and hell yeah, why wouldn't I want that, right? But anyways, let's do the next bit of news, and then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about Julian Alvarez, since someone just mentioned him in the chat section, because we do have an update in regards to the pursuit of the Argentine attacker. Now, as you know by now, Barcelona have made an offer worth 100 million euros for Julian Alvarez, 90 million fixed plus 10 million euro variable, an offer that first Atletico Madrid denied that they ever received, even though we all knew that was a lie. Eventually, one of their stakeholders, Miguel Ángel Gil Marín, admitted that yes, they had received that offer, but that Julian was not for sale. Now, of course, Joan Laporta said repeatedly that yes, the Barca had made the offer, but that offer was not forever. That the offer carried an expiration date, and that if Atletico Madrid did not respond to that offer would expire, and then that's it. Barcelona would move on. Now, of course, that expiration date, according to Joan Laporta himself, was end of this month, July 31st. But the new update is that Barcelona have now pushed that deadline for that offer until August 10th. Now, why August 10th? Well, to understand that, we got to understand the developments that have happened at Atletico Madrid since the last time Barcelona stated that, or Joan Laporta, I should say, stated that the offer expired at the end of this month. Now, as we know from the beginning, in February, Julian Alvarez sat down with Miguel Ángel Gilmarín and said, hey, I want to leave and I want to go to Barca. And Gilmarín promised him, okay, we'll make this happen for you. But of course, we are going to want, make a lot of money. After that, Julian reached an agreement with Barca to join the club. Barca made an offer, but Atletico Madrid did everything but honor that promise to Julian, right? They first denied the offer. They made those ridiculous tweets about offering Bad Bunny tickets for Raphinha and Pedri and Lamine. They, consistently issued statements about Julian is not for sale. They offered Julian to Arsenal. They offered Julian to PSG. They did everything but what they promised Julian, which of course made Julian mad. He made those public statements saying that he wants to transfer during the World Cup. And despite those statements, Atletico Madrid have continued to insist that Julian is not for sale. Finally, they admitted that yes, they did receive an offer from Barca, but that Julian is still not for sale. And it's reported that Julian requested a meeting with Atletico Madrid, and Atletico Madrid said, nope, we're not going to meet with you. We still expect you to show up to training, which is when? August 10th. As I explained a few moments ago, August 10th is the return date for all the players who played in the final, because that's exactly 3 weeks from the final. And that's how long players usually get a vacation in the summer, 3-week vacation. Now, Barcelona are expecting Julian to make more public statements to put more pressure on Atletico de Madrid. And there was also talks about Julian perhaps boycotting the preseason training. In other words, not showing up to preseason training to put more pressure at Atletico. So this is why Barcelona have decided to delay the expiration of their offer to August 10th to see what happens, to see is Julian going to make those public statements, those extra public statements to put more pressure. Is he going to show up to preseason training? Is he going to boycott preseason training? They want to see what's going to happen. Now, there is more developments that we have found out about happening at Atletico Madrid, and that's that there have been meetings between Apollo. Apollo is the investor that purchased majority shares in Atletico Madrid at the beginning of this year. It's an American investment group. Gilmarín, which is a major shareholder of Atletico Madrid. Cerezo, which is the CEO of Atletico Madrid. And Matteo Alemany, which is the sporting director of Atletico Madrid. Now, what have these meetings been about? These meetings have been to evaluate what to do with Julian, which of course is a change of stance, right? Initially, the stance was he's not for sale. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to discuss it. We don't care. That's it. But now we have sources close to Atletico revealing that, no, there's actually been meetings to discuss this. Now, this doesn't mean that these meetings are going to lead to Atletico saying, okay, let's sell him. They could still say, okay, yeah, no, we're not selling him. But it's a change in stance that they're actually discussing this, where before there was no discussion at all. And my feeling, my sensation is that the reason for these meetings is Apollo. Because Gilmarín, Cerezo, they all might, want to dig their heels in because of pride, because of ego, because of loyalty to their club or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, Apollo's an investment group, right? They have no loyalty to anyone besides the numbers. And if Apollo is looking at this like, hey, we just spent a shitload of money buying this club. We expect a return on our investment. And if this guy, Julian, not wanting to be there, his coach, Simeone, not wanting him there, the fans not wanting him there could cost us money, then maybe we should get rid of him because, again, their loyalty lays with the numbers, not with Atletico or their fans or with Cerezo or with Gilmarin, right? Now, this is not confirmed. This is just my opinion. This is what I feel why probably these meetings are taking place, because Apollo's looking at this as just a business opportunity. How can I make the most amount of money while spending the least amount of money, right? Plus, selling Julian for 100 mil, it's still profit for Atletico. And an investment group like Apollo are going to be like, what are we doing here? So you could sell this player, we can make money in the process, and we would be getting rid of a player that could potentially ruin their season, right? We all know about the rotten apple theory. Not that Julian Alvarez is a rotten apple, but if you have a rotten apple in a basket full of good apples, that rotten apple is gonna rot the rest of them, right? And that applies to football. When you have a player who's indisciplined, or a player who doesn't want to be there, or a player that's unhappy, clubs are usually quick to get rid of that player. Why? Because they can end up affecting the rest of the players, the rest of the locker room. And that's why Simeone doesn't want Julian anymore, right? So if Apollo's looking at this like, oh, this guy staying can actually cost me money as opposed to selling him can make me money, I guess this is why the meetings are being held. It's why they're like, hey, what is going on here? What are we doing here, right? Because again, Apollo's loyalty does not lay with Atletico Madrid fans. It lays with the numbers, profits, because they too have shareholders and they have to answer to those shareholders. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Again, Barcelona delaying the expiration of their offer until August 10th to see what Julian does, if Julian makes more public statements, to see if Julian shows up to training or not, and to see what happens in these meetings that have been taking place between Apollo, Gilmarin, Cerezo, and Alemany. Now, on one hand, even I obviously have said before, I don't think not signing a 9 is a good idea. But on the other hand, I don't like Barcelona delaying, drawing another line in the sand. Let's put it that way. Because I feel like it makes us look weak, right? Because Laporta said it 2 or 3 times. End of this month. End of this month. If they don't respond, we're out. And then it's like, yeah, just kidding. August 10th. It makes us look a little weak, in my opinion, right? It's kind of like if you're a parent and you tell your kid, hey, if you stay out past 9, you're grounded. And then the kid stays past 9 and you're like, okay, fine, you're not grounded. What do you think your kid's going to do the next day? He's going to stay past 9 again because he's going to know there's no repercussions, right? But anyways, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know. And with that, let's get back to the comment section. And then we are going to talk about Jules Kounde, because there is news in regards to the French right back. Oui, oui, monsieur. Let's see. Where did we leave off? This chat section is moving on me. Kino says, what do we do with Frankie de Jong? I want him gone, but it feels like we're stuck. I think that ship has sailed. I wanted Frankie gone. I said it many times. While Barcelona renewed him. And if Frankie didn't want to leave when he still had a few months left on his contract, he's definitely not going to want to leave now that, he got renewed for several years. So, yeah, I feel we're stuck. Barcelona doesn't learn, man. Barcelona doesn't learn. They keep giving these players these long-ass contracts when they're older, when they're not performing, whatever. And it's like we get stuck with them. It's like they're staying. We give them that long-ass renewal. And now we're like, oh, what do we do? Oh, we got to loan him. We pay his salary. We loan him here. We loan him there. And it's like, how do we get rid of him? Titi, we renewed his salary, his contract for so long. And then we're like, what do we do with him? We got to get rid of him. Lenglet, same thing. Piqué, right? Thankfully, he ended up leaving on his own terms. Jordi Alba, thankfully, he ended up leaving on his own terms. And it's like we keep doing this. And now we give Ronald Araujo this long-ass contract. And now we're like, damn, what do we do now? And it's like, Deco. But, according to someone, because Deco made a good signing with Cancelo, everything else is fine and dandy. Anyways. Always Django says, sell Casado and bring Javi. It's a no-brainer. Well, I wouldn't call it a no-brainer, right? Because at the end of the day, Casado brings you something that Javi Guerra cannot, right? Because Casado is someone that came up through the academy. He knows the club in and out. He knows the system in and out. Javi doesn't, right? So I wouldn't say that's a no-brainer. Nico says, no, I would sell Casado for Javi. And Amcule says, keep Casado. He will bleed for Barca. Oh, again, that's another thing that Casado brings you that Javi doesn't, right? That loyalty to the club. So, yes, not as a straightforward answer as like, oh, no-brainer. Let's see. What else? We have inconsistent. Says Goretzka. All right, so you got to vote for Goretzka. Stefano says, don't sell Casado and bring Javi. That would be, of course, more... That will be unlikely because we have an overbooking in the midfield. So to keep one and bring the other, now you have even a bigger overbooking in the midfield. Because remember, Frankie de Jong is injured, but he's injured for 4 to 5 months, not forever, right? So eventually when Frankie comes back, then what? You have Pedri, you have Bernal, you have Gavi, Fermin, Olmo, Frankie, Casado, Javi Guerra. That's 8 midfielders right there. Plus, you have Eddie Garcia and Christensen who can also play there. Now you're talking about 10. And then you have people like Tommy Marquez, Guille Fernandez. So now you're starting to talk about 1 million midfielders, right? So that's probably the least, like 0.00000%, 1% of that it would happen. Dion says, don't sign anyone, sell Casado and promote Tommy. Okay. I like that option too. Professional Wolf, we need physical presence in the midfield. I disagree with that. I feel like we've always said that, and every time we've tried it, it never works out because Barcelona, being a high possession team, it's never been about having big athletic players. It's always been about having, in the midfield, of course, having more skilled players who are very technical, very good with the ball, right? That's why our greatest midfielders have always been smaller guys. Iniesta, Xavi, right? Busquets was tall, right? But he was not a physical guy. I mean, that guy was a twig. Right? If the winds were too strong, he would, collapse and break into two halves. Right? And we've tried this whole physical things over and over again, and the result's always the same, right? The most recent one, Kessié. Remember Kessié? Didn't even end up getting minutes eventually. Not that he was a bad player, but he just did not fit the system. Kevin said, man, I love Bernal, but that knee can't be a starter for Barca. I don't know what our board thinking extending Frankie de Jong. Guerra's so good on the ball, pretty good, but when people predict his move, he tend to play safe. All right, so I guess your vote is bringing Javi. Let's see. Bad Boy says, but Javi Guerra, I have him on loan at Valencia so he can develop. Okay, that's an interesting option. I like it. Greek says, hey, Mo, just tired of these news. If we are looking to bring in 45 more players, just feel like it's going to be promotion from within. Okay. And Santana says, how are you, Mo? What's the latest about Julian? Oh, well, I just covered it. So perfect. Answer your question. And Billy says, Father Time is undefeated, 100%. Age is not just a number, and definitely in sports, it's definitely not just a number. I can't believe that person made that comment. I was like, fuck is wrong with people? But anyways, I'm not going to get mad again. Johnny says, hello from Chicago. Let's go, Chicago. Mo, I'm kind of late, but I just got home. Hope everyone is doing great. I hope you're doing great, my friend. Let's see. Messi says, oh, Messi. Hello, Messi. How are you? To be honest, this window has been frustrating. If you ain't going to sign none, just say so. What do you mean none? We've already signed Adeyemi and Anthony Gordon. Have you not been watching the channel? You should watch the channel. Hamid says, yo, Big Mo, I really believe in Shark, he'll deliver. God bless you, bro. You're a very positive person. Kiss My Axe says, do you think Flick would try to play Yabal in the 10 more this season? I don't know. I mean, I could see it happening because we have Adeyemi now. So you can have Adeyemi play on the right with Lamine coming through the middle. So it is a possibility. Should we do it? I believe that we should play players where they're in the position where they're strongest. And right now, Lamine is strongest at the right. Could he eventually develop and make that transition into a number 10? Yeah, he could. But right now, as of today, Lamine is stronger on the right. And I believe that you should play players where they are strongest, right? Even if they are strong in other positions, they should play where they are the strongest. But we'll see. We'll see, right? Let me see. Noor Hassan says Hamza should not be taken directly into the first team. Let him play for Barca Atletic and should be involved with the first team. We made a mistake with Rooney, and now we have to let him go by on Prof. So here's the thing. I think Hamza will be in the first team dynamic. I think he will exclusively train with the first team, and I'm sure he'll still go down to Barca Athletic and help them out. I don't think we made a mistake with Rooney as far as him staying on the first team. I just think that Rooney just didn't live up to the expectations. I don't think he was ready to play for a team like Barca, right? Would have served him to play in Barca Athletic? I don't think so, because I think he was past that, right? And when you have a player play in a division that's way below him, that doesn't help either, right? He ends up plateauing even more. So would he have done better at Barca Athletic? I mean, I'm sure he would have dominated, but I don't think it would have done him any good, because he was bigger than or better than fourth division football, but not as good enough to be a starter or have serious minutes for a team as Barca. I think he would do better at a lower team, but not in fourth division. That's too big of a drop. Let's see. Kino says, with Kroupi being injured, do you think we should try to sign again for Joao Pedro? I know Chelsea says it's not for sale, but anything possible in football, right? Well, Barca moved on from that option because Chelsea said not for sale. So is anything possible? Yeah, but there's also a limitation to that. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news and then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about Jules Kounde, because today L'Equipe and other sources in England as well. L'Equipe is, of course, the main French football outlet. Reported that Tottenham Hotspur are currently preparing a 65 million euros for Jules Kounde, which, of course, caused a lot of debate on social media with people saying yes, sell Kounde, other people saying no, other people say yes, but for more. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's no need to debate because there is no truth to this report, even though it did catch, spread like wildfire. Because, of course, later in the day, Fabrizio Romano denied this rumor. But also, even if this rumor was true, Barcelona have no intention of selling Kounde. Of course, they did kind of like demote him from going untouchable to being open to hearing offers, which is completely different than actually actively putting someone on the market, right? Willing to listen to offers. It's like, okay, we don't want to sell him, but if a big offer comes, we would consider selling him, right? That's in another word. And on the other hand, of course, Jules Kounde, after the World Cup, he was asked about this, and he said that, he was looking forward to being at Barcelona next season and to getting better and to helping the team. So Kounde is not looking to leave. Hansi Flick counts on him. The club not looking to sell. If they do receive a big offer, they would consider. So even if this rumor was true, Kounde is definitely not going to Tottenham Hotspur because he wants to stay at Barca. And again, if you were to leave Barca, why the hell would you go to Tottenham Hotspur? I don't know. Ask Lucas Bergvall. But that's a whole nother story for a different day. Now, my question is, because of course, we do like to play hypotheticals here. If this offer was real and if Kounde was willing to leave, would you sell Kounde? And if you would you sell him for 65 million euros? For me, it's a no and a no, right? Would I sell Kounde? No. I think Kounde, when he is in the right form, he is one of the best right backs in Europe. We've seen it all the seasons prior to last one, right? Last one, he was absolute shit. Slow, unfocused, making silly mistakes all the time. So, yeah, there's no one denying that his last season was horrendous, right? But just the same thing I said about Ter Stegen. Just because you're mad at Ter Stegen doesn't mean all of a sudden you have to pretend that he's a crappy goalkeeper his whole career. Same thing with Kounde. Just because he had a horrible last season, we cannot ignore the other 3 or 4 seasons prior to that where he was excellent. In fact, he had a pretty good World Cup with France. So would I sell Kounde? No. I think he had a bad season. And given his World Cup, it looks like he might have recovered. And if he can recover and go back to his old form, I think he could have another incredible season as one of the best right backs in Europe. Now, if he does have another bad season, then all of a sudden it's not like an outlier, right? Because all players can have a bad season. But now if you have 2 in a row, now it's more of a problem. Then I would consider selling him. Would I consider selling this summer? No. Now, well, if for 65 million, definitely not. I think given how the market is, I would want, I don't know, 70, 80 million. Because, losing Kounde, you're talking about losing your starting fullback. And who else do we have on the team that can replace him? Hector Fort, Xavi Spar, none of those 2 are ready to be starters. Eddie Garcia, very good job, but if Eddie Garcia needs rest, he's injured, whatever. Again, we're back to the whole Hector Fort, Xavi Spar. I don't think they're ready to be starters. Right now, we can have Kounde as a starter. If he's injured, it can be Eddie Garcia. That's fine. I'm fine with those 2 alternating with Hector Fort or Xavi Spar, getting minutes here and there whenever you need them, but not being the, your starting figure. So if you're going to get rid of your starting right back, who's one of the best right backs in Europe when he's fully fit or when he's focused and not being an idiot, you're definitely not going to sell him for 65 mil. I think I want at least 80 million. But of course, I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Let me know, would you A, sell Kounde, and B, if you did want to sell him, would you sell him for 65? Would you want more? Would you want less? Let me know down below in the comment section. And now let's end this live with some comments, and then we'll end it for good. Because EO says if Barca doesn't get Álvarez, I think they should be fine with the signing we have now. Gordon at the Yemi and BC Woo. If Dembele can play the number 9 at PSG, then so can Gordon or Olmo. I mean, BC Woo is a Barca Atletic signing, right? BC Woo is very promising, but of course, he still has a while before making it to the first team. Savio says, sell Casado for 40 mil with an option to buy back, though use Frankie's salary space to sign free Goretzka. I really wish that Goretzka outperformed Frankie, then sell Frankie for 50 to 60 mil. I mean, that sounds good on paper, but again, I don't see Frankie leaving. I just really, really don't. I mean, how many times did the club try to push him out and he dug his heels in and said no? So I don't see it happening. I mean, not only is Frankie want to stay at Barca, but his wife is very happy in Barca, and that's another reason why Frankie never wanted to leave to begin with. I realized I hadn't taken a sip of my wine this whole podcast. I was wondering why my throat was getting dry. Let's see. All Basketball TV says, I fucking hate De Jong. He's overrated. I mean, hate is a strong word, but I do agree he's overrated. Not because he's a bad midfielder. I think he's just never lived up to his potential. Right? We signed the Ajax Frankie, and we never got the Ajax Frankie. We got glimpses of it. We had moments where, yeah, Frankie was really good, but then moments where he was also bad. And that was the trajectory of Frankie, up and down, up and down, up and down, with injuries sprinkled out throughout. Which, for the amount of money that we signed him, with the amount of money we've paid him in salary, you would expected a more consistent performance. Best in the game says, what about Vlahovic? Why can't we get him if we don't get Álvarez? At least having an actual striker is better than nothing in this situation, especially since he is going to be a free agent. So the idea for Vlahovic is to only sign him if Ferran leaves. Right? Barcelona see Vlahovic as a sub, not as a starter. So if Ferran, who is the sub, leaves, then Vlahovic would come in his place, or Aslani, but not as a starter. Because, Barcelona don't think he has the quality to be the starter. Would it be better than nothing? No, it wouldn't be better than nothing. Why? Because remember, if you sign this player, you're going to sign him for 4 or 5 years. Okay, yeah, it's better than nothing this season, but what happens next summer when you do sign a center forward? Then what? Now you're stuck with a player that you didn't want to begin with, that you just compromised on, and now what? You got to pay him his salary for the next 4 years. I mean, we're talking about tens of millions of euros. This is not like, I don't have the pants I want are not available, so I'm gonna buy other pants in between. We're talking about millions and millions involved, right? Teja says, Junior Kroupi injured and out 3 to 4 months. Who do you think is realistic plan B? Would love Osimhen as number 9. Well, what my sources tell me is there is no option B right now. It's either we sign Julian or there is no 9. Noor Hassan says Hamza should not be taken directly into the first team. Oh, wait, I already read that. Barca Original says, Mo, can you please stream the match against Birmingham for us live here, my brother? I can only do watch-alongs. I can't stream the actual matches because obviously I'll get shut down for copyright infringement. As far as watch-along, I do work on Friday, unfortunately, so I won't be able to do it. Larry Brown says, Mo, I don't know your thoughts on this saga, but I think... Wait, is the 31st? The match is on the 31st. 31st Friday it is, right? 30th tomorrow, 31st. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I won't be doing a watch-along because, of course, I will be working. But Larry says, Mo, I don't know your thoughts on this saga, but I think this whole Álvarez saga is a repeat of Nico Williams' drama. The club have put the sporting project on hold for one player. I wouldn't say repeat because the difference with Nico Williams is that he never really put himself out there, right? It was kind of like talks with the Asian and then they got cold feet, as opposed to Julian, who has completely burned the bridge to come to Barca, coming out, making that announcement. Now, considering not showing up to train. I mean, that's completely burning the bridge and saying there's no going back. Fuck Atletico and let's hope for the best, which is a very risky thing to do because if Atletico eventually don't budge, it's like, what do you do? You've completely burned the bridge. How do you go back to a club that now the coach doesn't want you there? Your teammates are going to have a problem with you too. And then the fans are going to probably hate you. Well, not probably. They will hate you. So I wouldn't say it's the same, but I get your point. Andrew says, would Salinas count as a center back signing since he can play there as well? So Salinas will be for both, right? Left back and center back. So that's kind of like what Barcelona are looking at him because he's a versatile player, That's where the market is headed, Clubs are now more interested in versatile players that you can use in different positions. That's what's hot right now. Larry Brown says, if Julian wants to come here and Barca needs to give the player an ultimatum and tell the player to put a full on public pressure on Atleti. He's already come out and said he wants to transfer. Barcelona hope that he makes more exchanges, but you cannot force him to do that. You can't put a gun to his head. Let's see. Andy says, Mo, if we sign a top striker, Ferran would be backup. Would it be any different if we sign Aslani, where Ferran would start and Aslani would be backup? Wait, hold on. I lost focus. Mo, if we sign a top striker, Ferran will be backup. Would it be any different if we sign Aslani, where Ferran would start and Aslani would be backup? Well, that's the thing. We wouldn't sign Aslani if Ferran stays. Aslani would only be the signing if Ferran leaves. Same for Vlahovic, right? If Ferran leaves, it's either Vlahovic or Aslani in his place. It would not be Ferran starter and Aslani backup. It would be either Ferran backup or Aslani backup or Vlahovic backup. One of those three. Let's see. What else? Edwin says, we produce biggest talents in the world in every position except the 9. I almost been puzzled by this. Yeah, you're not right. Even though they say Gistau looks very promising and he's a center forward. So we'll see. But no, you're right. But I feel like we produce a lot more midfielders than any other position. But yeah, no, number 9 hasn't been really our strongest suit. And let's see. Larry Brown says the risk is bigger for Atletico because they have a substantial financial investment in the player, and him not playing for them gives club more leverage in negotiations. It's a loss for them mostly because it's a player that doesn't want to be there, right? And you usually don't want players who don't want to be there in your locker room. It's a problem. And if your coach doesn't want them there either, and the fans don't want them there, it's never a good idea to have that on your hands. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you're not subscribed yet, what the hell are you waiting for? Subscribe so you can get the latest. That is all for tonight. I will see you guys in tomorrow's videos. And as always, Viscarsa.